Hey, what's going on guys? How is everybody doing? In today's video, we'll be going over several team comps for Hu Tao. Hu Tao is a high-risk, high-reward character doing her maximum damage while sitting below 50% health. While some players might not like this high-risk style of play, we'll be breaking down several teams that utilize her at low health, as well as some that use her more as just a typical main DPS. And if you're looking for specifics on how to go about building your Hu Tao and what to prioritize, make sure to check out my full guide. Click the link in the top right or down in the description below. We'll be taking a look at what elemental reactions we'll want to make a priority when choosing teammates, the elemental resonances we can take advantage of, and what teammates will help to improve Hu Tao's overall damage. We'll be discussing team comps from the best of the best to those easily accessible to free-to-play players. And just a reminder that there will be a poll in the description below for you guys to vote on which team comp from today's video you'd like to see a more in-depth breakdown on, covering full character builds and gameplay. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. Hu Tao's potential damage output is very high, and one of the main factors of that is her reactions. The main two that you'll be striving to include on every team are Melt or Vaporize. These are the bedrock for any Pyro main DPS, as they'll either multiply your damage by 1.5 or 2x, depending on which reaction you trigger. While Melt does provide more damage, we'll see once we get to the team comps that her actual best partner is a Hydro hero, so we'll be triggering Vaporize more often, but that doesn't stop her Melt teams from being solid options as well. One of the main reasons these reactions help Hu Tao so much compared to other heroes is that Hu Tao's charge attack has no internal cooldown. For those unaware, internal cooldowns affect how often a status can be applied from an attack from your heroes. For those Diluc players out there, this is why when Diluc's basic attacks are infused with Pyro and you have a Xingqiu burst active, not every one of Diluc's attacks will trigger Vaporize, despite Hydro being applied on the enemy. There's a set interval that his basic attack will be able to apply an elemental debuff, so if you attack faster than this interval, the status won't actually be applied. Hu Tao, on the other hand, has no internal cooldown on her charge attack. This means that on top of having a higher multiplier than her auto attack string, we can consistently trigger either Melt or Vaporize for as long as her skill is active and we have stamina. Since we're trying to increase Hu Tao's overall damage, Fervent Flames and Enduring Rock will be our go-to resonances when we can afford to do so. Fervent Flames is less attractive here than usual, however, because of Hu Tao's low natural base attack. If paired with a weapon that is also lackluster in the base attack department, the overall boost won't be as enticing as it would be for other main DPSs. This is where Geo-Resonance steps in. While normally the 15% damage bonus would actually come just under the damage performance of Pyro Resonance, because of the lower performance on Hu Tao specifically, Geo-Resonance actually outperforms it here. Though because of the finicky nature of the Geo heroes, it's certainly not the case that you should just play any Geo heroes to get this resonance. We'll get into this in just a few seconds with our first team after this fancy transition. This first team is all but confirmed by theory crafters to be the highest damage output team for Hu Tao, which puts a smile on my face since it features my favorite support core in this game currently, Zhongli and Albedo. But I first want to talk about the lone 4-star unit on this team, who is the secret MVP of this team comp. Xingqiu is Hu Tao's best teammate, and you'll see through the rest of this video that it's hard to justify taking him off the team. He does everything you want him to. He sets up perfect reactions with Hu Tao, he reduces incoming damage and also heals in small increments as to not upset your low HP maintenance. He generates a lot of energy, assuming you have either a Sacrificial Sword or have a Favonius Sword with a decent crit rate, and he does a boatload of damage himself. Really, the key factor though is his Hydro application. As we discussed previously, Hu Tao's charge attack does not have an internal cooldown and can spark reactions as fast as you can queue up the next charge attack. Xingqiu's Rain Swords attack very quickly, which actually work to our favor because before Hu Tao executes her charge attack, she actually performs a basic attack, which will spark the Rain Swords in time to apply Hydro for the charge attack. It's quite an intricate dance and makes sense since these two are both trained in the same style of combat, which really is quite poetic if you think about it. Do you think MiHoYo actually intended that? That all being said, you could substitute Xingqiu for any other Hydro hero you'd like if you prefer their playstyle, though if performance is what you're after, it'll be hard to justify another hero above him. If you're considering Child though, I would only consider doing so if you have him C4, as otherwise he can't apply Hydro while off the field. Hu Tao and Xingqiu may be our offensive core, but Zhongli and Albedo are our support core. These two are nigh irreplaceable for a Geo support core. The fact is that they do things that are unique to them and them alone. Starting with Zhongli, since his buffs, he's been making the rounds letting everyone know just how strong he is and that he's here to stay. Obviously, his shield will be vital as Hu Tao performs her best under 50% health, so a nice and sturdy shield will help prevent her from getting one-shot or combo killed out of nowhere. And of course, we get the newly added 20% elemental shred as long as you're in close range to your enemies. The fact that Zhongli can play both offense and defense at the same time is one of the main reasons for his prominence and why he's not easily replaced. Not to mention he can just drop an ult every now and again for a ton of AoE damage. Albedo is the passive damage prince, being able to remain off field for 30 seconds while applying a steady stream of damage and receive a Geo boost from the resonance that makes the job that much easier for your main DPS. He also has a hidden ability here to increase your team's elemental mastery as well, further increasing your vaporized reaction damage from Hu Tao. The next team up is also built around the vaporized core of Hu Tao and Xingqiu, but this time we're trading the defense of Zhongli and Albedo, instead adding a bit more firepower in Zhongling and Sucrose. This team is overall hurt by not having a dedicated healer, so it can struggle in the abyss. Though if you're careful in not taking damage with your supports, Hu Tao is able to heal herself through her burst and with the aid of Xingqiu. If you're finding yourself taking more damage than you'd like though, Bennett would be a fine replacement for Zhongling, though he may end up finding better use on another one of your teams. Zhongling is here to provide Pyro boost through her 1st and 6th constellations, as well as the chilly Guoba drops after attaining her 4th ascension. She also is the other half of the Pyro resonance to further increase Hu Tao's attack. Though just remember that this does not affect her base attack, so it will not change how much attack you can gain from stacking HP. Sucrose is a valued member of any team that deals a large majority of their damage as one type because she can utilize the Viridescent Veneer set, reducing the enemy's resistance to the element she swirls with by 40%. Though there are technically 4 other heroes who could be our Viridescent support, she is arguably the best in this team though because of her ability to pass off elemental mastery to her other teammates, paving the way for even bigger reaction damage. Because of the sometimes awkward timing of the combined up and down time of Hu Tao's skill and Xingqiu's burst, sometimes you just want to pop back into Hu Tao rather than waiting for Xingqiu's burst to be off cooldown. So in this instance, you can actually use Sucrose's burst as a budget Xingqiu burst as long as the enemy is inflicted with Hydro. You'll get Hydro Shred instead, but you can still get sustained vaporizes while waiting for Xingqiu. The Firecracker comp, as it was once called, now some call it a Taser comp. Either way, this team now adds Fischl and Beidou for their sublime off-field Electro support. Fischl, or should I say Oz, plays a similar role as Albedo on our first team. Pretty much unlimited off-field supporting damage, especially with this team because of the Electro resonance, we'll be generating Electro particles everywhere. And with Beidou, that can be kind of necessary, especially if you aren't very good at quick parrying, which is where she generates most of her energy from. But her burst is why she's so much fun on this team. Providing a shield, once you get her to Constellation 1, all your basic and charged attacks will now create an additional lightning attack that can jump between enemies. Between this and the Hydro application from Xingqiu, there's a lot of potential for AoE damage here, a type of damage of which Hu Tao is quite inferior. The extra cherry on top of this type of team is that when triggering electrocharge reactions, both Hydro and Electro can remain on the enemy at the same time, meaning that not only can we still proc our vaporized reactions undisturbed, but we can also proc overloaded, which will generate particles from the Electro resonance, and as long as you have Ascension 4 Fischl, will generate an additional Electro attack. So while these might not be the biggest hits, there's a lot of them. As with the last team, this team also lacks a proper healer though, so while Xingqiu might be the best pair with Hu Tao, this would be the place to slot in a Bennett or Barbara if you want to maintain Vaporize. Our penultimate team is an interesting one. If you've got a Chongyun that's just been sitting on the sidelines or is looking for a new home because you've put down your Diluc, this is the team for him. While we won't be making any use out of the cryo imbuement from his skill, we will be using the reduction of cooldown benefit from his Constellation 2. So by that token, this team only really has any merit if you have a Chongyun at C2. Essentially, this is a simple vaporize/freeze team looking to reduce the downtime of Hu Tao's and Xingqiu's long cooldowns so that we can stay in the action longer. This actually isn't my favorite configuration of this team though. I actually do prefer having Diona on this team for shields, damage reduction, and elemental mastery bonus once she's Constellation 6. She also provides heals for the team should you find yourself in a sticky situation where Xingqiu just can't pull you out. I also tend to prefer Ganyu over Kaya, due to the small amount of crowd control on her skill and the fact that her burst has a natural 15-second duration and does not demand further constellations or kills to do so, as does Kaya's. That being said, I have a feeling some of you might not like the idea of relegating your Ganyu to a supporting role, which is completely fine, but why not have two cute girls on your team? And she provides another leeway here, so if you're using a Lithic Spear on Hu Tao, there is in fact another reason to favor Ganyu. Finally, we come to our completely free-to-play team. Of course, you can go ahead and adjust this based on the heroes you have, but when I say free-to-play, I mean free-to-play. So only heroes that you do not have to wish for are included. First things first, we need to find our Elemental Aura heroes, since we don't have access to Xingqiu. Barbara and Kaya are our best options here, in that they are actually our only options here. You could also substitute Kaya for the Animo main character, though since it'll be quite a while before you can acquire a Viridescent Vinger set, there's actually pretty little reason to. Unless you're free to play through and through to the end, in which case that might actually be a decent choice. Zhongling is our Pyro supportive choice. Unfortunately, her Pyro boosting mechanics are locked behind constellations, but you can still pick up her chilies once hitting Ascension 4. This can potentially make your weapon situation a bit awkward though, having two polearm users on the team, especially in the early game, but at that point in the game, the stat buffs you'll receive will most likely be minimal compared to those of late game builds. As of the recording of this video, Xingqiu is currently in the Star Glitter shop, so as I'm assuming you'll have some Star Glitter lying around after receiving Hu Tao, if you somehow didn't pull a Xingqiu on her banner, that would be an investment I would highly recommend, as you'll see a big improvement over Barbara in the long run. Hopefully you guys have found this team guide useful and will help you in deciding which heroes to move forward and build. Remember to vote in the poll below for which team you'd like to see a further breakdown for. If you liked what you saw and want to see more content from me, head over to my Twitch page, twitch.tv/xjazzy, or you can help support me right here on YouTube by clicking the red subscribe button, liking the video if you liked it, and hitting the notification bell. That way you never miss a video. And of course, if you want to join our community over on Discord, which I highly recommend, link as always will be down in the description below. But guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.